Hey everybody, so I wanted to give everyone an update on how we're going to proceed with the course, given what we know at the time of this recording about transitioning to online materials. So as of the time I'm recording this, it seems like the university, along with most in the nation, are going to be transitioning to completely online education. So given that that's the case, here's how we're going to proceed, and I just wanted to detail the changes to the course. So in order to transition totally online, we've had a few changes we're going to have to make. For one, the syllabus is going to have to be completely updated from everything after the point of spring break, because they added a second spring break, right? So what I've done on these syllabus is I've essentially just moved everything down. I've taken everything from what was to be in week 10 and I've shoved it down into the next week, and this is true all the way through the rest of the semester. What that means, though, is that since we had essentially one less week of class, I had to cut some stuff out. So there are some materials down here, contemporary issues, that were completely removed. I think it looks like healthcare might have been the one that was cut, but yeah, so for the sake of time, there's some stuff that we just aren't going to cover. In terms of assignments, they remain the same. There's still 10 create a question assignments. One other difference you'll notice is that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday are gone because we just have weeks now, right? So the way that this process is going to work is instead of having create a question assignments for 1s, 2s, and 3s, now everyone, all people in the class, will have 2 questions due per week based upon the readings for that week. A week will begin on Monday at 12:01 a.m., so Monday, March 23rd, for example, and then will end the following Sunday at 11:59 p.m. So the following Sunday for this week, week 11, would actually be this is Friday, to be Saturday the 29th. It'd be March 29th at 11:59 p.m. That week ends, and then week 12 begins at midnight on Monday. So this means that you have now a full week to read the material, write your 2 creative question assignments, and submit them in the corresponding folder. If you've already gone ahead and worked and submitted, it's fine. I mean, you're already set. If not, then that's your task from now on. So this actually gives you quite a bit more time and more flexibility on what your questions are going to be about and when they're due, right? The remaining, we only have, 4 assignments left, or 5 assignments, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that won't change too much. In terms of, so what I've also decided to do is, to help this transition period, is come up with an outline here that explains all these transitions. Firstly, as it says, as I just mentioned, the syllabus has been changed to reflect the change in spring break. This document, by the way, and these changes can all be found on the Blackboard site. So if you go to the Blackboard site, you'll notice 2 minor changes. One, it says syllabus and updates. If you click on this, it'll bring you to the same syllabus page, and notice it has here the syllabus that has been updated to reflect those changes, and then it also has this doc file, COVID-19 course changes, and that doc file is what you see right here. This will always be up through the entirety of the semester, so in case you ever need to go back and look at it, you'll be able to find it there. It also mentions some other updated material here, which we'll get to in just a second. So let's look at that doc file. The doc file contains information on the transition to a totally online course. The first part is the syllabus, which I just mentioned. We added in that extra bit for the second spring break, so everything's sort of been pushed down. In terms of lectures, we are no longer meeting face-to-face. Instead, all of your lectures will be done via videos just like this, which will be uploaded to YouTube. So this means that you'll be able to download and watch those videos anytime you want. It's also great if you're maybe just driving somewhere, you're doing something else, you can listen to it in the background, so you can sort of do it on your own pace. I'm going to try and keep these very, very short. I'm going to try and make the entire week crunch down into about a 50-minute lecture. So normally where you'd be in a class for like 150 minutes, I'm trying to keep it as short as possible because I realize that these things can get kind of boring. So what I'm going to do is going to have my voice over the lecture slides going through the same material that we would have otherwise gone through. They're create a question assignments. So the remaining 5 of these, because as I said, we only have 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, will remain the same. The only difference is, as I said, you no longer have 1, 2s, or 3s. Now everyone will have their 2 questions due at the end of the week, and as I said just a moment ago, the week begins on a Monday and ends the following Sunday at 11:59 p.m. So you have from midnight Monday all the way to the following Sunday to submit those questions in there. And don't forget, you can always work ahead, right? Next, exams. So we still have 2 exams left. All future exams, including the second exam and the final, will be presented online. The format will be the same. It'll be multiple choice questions, short answer questions, which I'll try and give you a hint of what they'll be in the lectures, and optional bonus questions. The only difference is it will be online. So the way that you'll be presented these exams is if you go to the Blackboard site and you click on the tab now called Exams, it's no longer empty. In fact, I don't even think you could see it before because there's nothing in it. Now there's a tab and it has information in it. What I've included in here is, now there's no exams in there right now because I haven't written them yet, but the second and final exams will appear in here as a link. What I do have in here is an exam template. As it says, this is not an exam, this is in a template for you to try out before you actually take one of the online exams. What this will do is when you click the link, it'll redirect you to a survey hosting site called Qualtrics. And as you can see here, it says exam sample, course name, blah, 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 blah. And then here's where you would normally enter your name, normal instructions, here's the advancement. The whole purpose of this site is just to show you sort of how it's going to look, right? There's timers on these things to auto-advance it. And then it has, here's an example of how a short answer format would look. You'll have question text, and you'll be able to enter your text answers there. The only reason I have this site up at all is so that you can test your browser or your phone to make sure that it's compatible with the exam. So you want to check this out. Check this link out, make sure it runs smoothly before you attempt to take any of the exams so you can spot those problems earlier. Maybe you need to get on a different computer, use a different browser or something like that. The one thing I do want to note about exams, and I'll remind you this when it comes up, is that the format still applies. Close note, close book, do not use internet access, do not use additional information, don't take it with a friend. We're supposed to be sort of social distancing ourselves anyway. And there is anti-cheating software in place on that, so I'll find out, so don't do it, right? In terms of the Today in Texas presentations, if you've already done yours, including those that have done them and I simply haven't entered the grades in, I'll enter those grades in. I'll just have to get around to it. If you haven't gone yet for either one or both of your presentations, here's what we're going to do. And since there is no way for you to actually give an oral portion, what I've done is I've moved something up that was here below that was not being used called Turn It In, and I've added and amended this in Blackboard to say Turn It In Presentations. If you click on this, it'll pull up this site on Blackboard, and you can see that there are two folders, Presentation 1, Presentation 2, and it has a note here explaining what I want. That note is copied word for word from this doc file. And what it says is, what we're going to do is I'm going to have you upload the PowerPoint slides you would have used in your presentation. And then what I want you to do is open PowerPoint and enter in the notes that you would have used as your reference as if you had been speaking to the class. So instead of a greater oral portion, there's going to be a slightly greater writing portion. If you're unfamiliar with what I mean by notes, if you click on PowerPoint, let's move this up, you'll see there's multiple ways to view it. If you click normal, let me expand this, hang on one second. There we go. So if we click normal, you can move this guy up and you'll see there's a section down here to add notes. This is the notes section. So what I want you to do is have your normal slides and then anything you would have dictated to the class, anything you would have told in addition to what's on the slide. Because remember, a good presentation shouldn't just be the slide, otherwise you wouldn't say anything. You just stand there, right? So what would you have said to the class as if you had been presenting? So on each slide, I want to see some information in addition to what's actually on the slide itself, right? It doesn't have to be a whole lot, but at least something, right? The other way you can view this too is you can click on the Notes tab. It'll bring up the slide, and then you can click on this text box, and you can enter your notes in there. So whatever's easier for you. But yeah, that's what I want to save your file, and then go to the Blackboard site, and then upload your presentation into the corresponding folder. So what I mean by corresponding folder is if you've already presented once, right, then you can dump it in either file. I don't really care, right? Either folder, it doesn't matter. Like let's say you can dump it in the 1 or 2, I don't care. But if you haven't gone at all, then put your first presentation in this folder, put your second presentation in that folder, right? And as I said, if you've already done your presentations, don't worry about it. So it'll function the same way. I'm going to, as it says here, instead of having actual days for your presentation, so like if you were going to present on, since the schedule's all screwed up now, what I want you to do is just try and have it in within that same week. I know for some of you it's going to be that we're planning on going this week of the 16th through the 20th. You're kind of screwed because this is like a spring break. You shouldn't have to work, and you're right? If you were supposed to go during week 10, get your assignment in during week 11. Just sometime during that week, put those in there. And for everyone else, like let's say you're normally going to go on like the 27th, instead of it being due on that day, it has to be due before that week ends. In other words, it needs to be in before the 29th, which is Sunday at 11:59 p.m. As long as it's in there before that, it's fine, right? I'm not going to be super strict about these due dates or anything like that. I just want to make sure that It's gonna, I'll get around to grading them as fast as I can, but I want to make sure that they're in there so I can stagger these grading assignments so it's not all sort of dropping on me. So that's pretty much how we're going to handle it. I think that's everything. That's everything that's changed is, lectures all online, assignments, they stay the same. You just have more flexibility. Exams are going to be all online, and then presentations are going to be submitted PowerPoint files. And then you'll be able to view in the My Grades tab on the way at the end. There'll be the if you haven't given your presentation yet, your presentation grades will appear. They'll likely appear there, or I'll put them in the normal column where they're supposed to appear. That's one other thing. Oh yes, the exams. I wanted to mention one more thing about those. So the way that this typically works is you'll have the template will give you a pretty good guideline on how this is going to look. The one thing to note is that in addition to this, anti-plagiarism, anti-cheating software stuff that's embedded into this this platform, is that there's a timer on the page. It's not it's a long timer. Like it'll give you plenty of time. But once you start the exam, you need to sit down and finish it. In one sitting. You can't stop and then break it up, because it'll, after several generous amounts of minutes, it'll auto advance. And the reason why it's an automatic function that tries to deter cheating, right? Because if you could just leave it open for hours on end, you could go off and do tons of research on this stuff and then come back, and there'd be essentially no point in doing a test at all. But you'll still have the potential exam questions will still appear on Blackboard here, so you'll know all of those multiple choice questions in advance. And the only things you won't know are the short answer and bonus, but I'll try and give those to you in the video lectures. If you have any additional questions or concerns, let me know via email. If you're worried about having sufficient internet access, from what I understand, the university plans to be open. So you should still be able to use some of those campus resources. So, for example, I think the library might still be maintaining their open situation. There's also, if you're still sort of unsure, you need computer access, or maybe the one you're worried at home isn't going to be sufficient, let me know and we can work something out, because there are plenty of sort of nooks and crannies, isolated computers, including in one just down the hall from where we meet. That are freely available, and since the buildings, and it seems like those are going to be open all the time, you should be able to access those. The last two things I wanted to add that I almost forgot here, I had to tack in at the end. I added something normally that I don't include in my courses, and that is I'm giving you access to the PowerPoint slides. So if you click, you'll notice that I've added in bold words here slides under the course content. If you click on the course content folder, you see all the normal stuff, right? The outside readings, if we have any, some information, and then at the very top we have this PowerPoint slides. And what I've done is for all the chapters from this point to the end of the semester, which I believe is the judiciary, all the way to the end of the semester, I've included the slides that I'll be using for those. So you can see here's the politics in the American states slides, and then here are all the chapter slides as well. So you can, if you want to have access to those, they're there for you. And then the final thing I realized I forgot to mention was, where are the video lectures going to be posted? I've created a folder. It won't be visible for you now on Blackboard because there's nothing in it until I upload this video into it. But when you click on this, all future video lectures will be available here. Really, that folder is just going to contain links to YouTube, and it'll stream from that. Okay, sorry for the weird change, but hopefully it all works out.